Okay, and what we want to do in this video is continue on the study that we've done in this mini segment, which is money and wealth. And this is the third of 5 videos that is going to be in the money and wealth series. Okay, so moving on. So we've already said that production is wealth, all right? So this is really, really important. The more that is produced in an economy, from production, of course, okay, the richer everyone is on average. And the reason that they're richer is because they can consume more. And what do we mean by consumption? Well, if more is produced, that means that everyone is richer on average as there's more goods and services to share around the residents of that country. Now, again, we're not saying that, everybody gets the same and stuff like that, but on average, rising productivity, increases in production over time, causes an increase in the standard of living. And what we're measuring standard of living is what we can consume, but we can only consume what was produced. So please don't forget that. But of course, the thing then that we have to move on to is what produces goods and services. And the answer is the title to this slide, which is the factors of production. Okay, so what are the factors of production? So this is the definition. You absolutely have to learn it off word perfect. The factors of production are the 4 resources that allow an economy to produce its output: land, labour, capital and enterprise, and or entrepreneurship. And of course, part of entrepreneurship can be management of their own company. Now let's look at this as succinctly as we can. They're the 4 resources that allow an economy to produce output. Well, what is that output? The output that you and I enjoy to consume. That's what we're talking about. So in order for us to consume it, the factors of production must have made it. And we'll talk more about it, of course, but the more factors of production there are, the higher the quality of factors of production that there are, and how efficiently they are used define the wealth of a nation. So factors of production, just to give you a simplistic way of understanding it, they're the things used to make stuff, the stuff that you and I enjoy. Now the 4 of them, as we've already said: land, labour, capital and enterprise. We'll define these and go into these in more detail in later videos. Now, as I have already said, the greater the quantity and quality of the factors of production, the richer a nation is. One thing that you can look at is this idea of Q squared cell. It's the quantity and quality, Q squared, of capital, enterprise, land and labour. But it's not just that. It also depends on the efficiency with which we use these factors of production. Now, there will be more videos over and over again, of course, but think about this. We could have the I won't say almost limitless, but a huge amount of factors of production that are absolutely incredibly technologically advanced. And we don't use any of them. They stay unemployed. They stay not used. So we also have to efficiently use all of our factors of production as well as we can to enjoy the highest standard of living as possible. Now let's look at this idea. So what we have is one guy here, that's one piece of labour, if you want, with a scythe cutting wheat. Now, what have we done here? Well, we have increased the quantity of the factors of production. Now we have 4 people working, so that's 4 times the amount of labour, and they have a scythe each, so that's 4 times the amount of capital. But thinking about this, okay, so that's the quantity. But look at it, the increases in GDP, the increases in the standard of living, the increases in production which lead to increases in consumption, and as such which lead to a higher standard of living, come about by increases in the quality of the factors of production. So what we have here now is we have 3 pieces of capital, if you want to look at it that way, 3 workers, less capital than the previous slide, but of a far higher quality, at least in terms of capital. And the amount of output in terms of grain or wheat or whatever this is that these guys could produce, it far exceeds the previous example of the 4 guys with the 4 sides. Then we can go on further and further, that we can maintain the level of factors of production, just have more of them. So again, what am I getting at? It's the quantity and quality of factors of production which define how much is produced and therefore determine how much we can consume. And as such, our standard of living. So the more goods and services that a country makes, the more stuff that the residents of that country can enjoy. Absolutely. So the more we produce, the more we consume, and we're measuring our standard of living based on our ability to consume. And again, so why am I looking at this? Well, an incredibly advanced piece of technological or production technology will allow what to happen? Will allow a huge amount of output. And with a huge amount of output, what do we get? Well, we get more goods and services to share around with people. We get more people to be able to, that are able to own a car because more cars are produced. And what does that make? That makes for happy people. Okay, so the quantity of notes and coins, what I'm saying is the quantity of money in an economy makes no difference in the long term to the wealth of that country. Okay, only an increase in production can cause an increase in the standard of living. Now, in no way am I being flippant about this kind of scenario here, but if printing money made people richer, if printing money made countries richer, then any developing country could simply drag itself out of poverty by simply printing pieces of paper with fancy little designs on them. All right? Why not just print more money? That is a very fair question that I will go into more and more in the next two videos, the answer to that. But basically, I will kind of just present a case study now. It's a failure. What we've got is this idea of Zimbabwe. And I won't go too much into it, but essentially what they did was, Robert Mugabe was, this guy here is a bit of a complete dictator, and he had to buy loyalty of the army and the police to make sure he could stay in power. So in order, they weren't producing enough, so in order to buy the loyalty of his officers and police, he printed an insane amount of money. And it got so bad that what happens when you print money is that prices rise. And it got so bad that this full barrel of money here would probably be enough to buy you a loaf of bread. We have these guys here that are in Zimbabwe saying they're starving billionaires. And why are they billionaires? Well, because they had to print more and more money each time because the prices were rising over and over again. And it got to the stage where it got so bad that it was $100 trillion note. But the problem with that is these guys are starving, and why? Well, the thing is, money doesn't make a country rich. Production makes a country rich. So you can have all the money that you want, but if nothing is produced, well, then there's nothing to buy at the shops. If there's nothing to buy at the shops, well, then money is worthless, right? So this is, honestly, this is a shop, Dunnes Stores near me in Dublin in Ireland. And I would much rather go into a shop with far less money, but prices that are even lower than they were in Zimbabwe, and as such I could afford to buy all of this stuff. And you can see the shelves are packed here, absolutely packed with all the finest of stuff. And then would you rather be this kid with all this money here, all these notes, and nothing to spend it on, or would you rather to go into a shop like this with money that is actually worth something, money that has purchasing power, money that will buy goods and services? Now, the reason why developing countries or people in developing countries are so poor is because their countries produce very little goods and services. It is not because they're lazy, they're stupid, they don't, nothing like that, okay? So the reason that certain people in certain countries live in houses like this and other people in other countries live in houses like this is because of the way that they are producing goods and services, how their factors of production are used, the quantity and quality of factors of production combined with the efficiency. So we have people producing in developing countries like this, working exceptionally hard, doing the best they can, or in certain places in the West, we have production along these lines, which people are sitting in a tractor working, not working as hard at all, but because of the combination of labour with advanced high quality capital, well, then that means that these people here can produce far more for their society, and as such ensure in some way that their society has a higher standard of living. Again, we see a very hard-working teacher here, and there's nothing wrong with their intelligence, their ability, but in richer countries, what you do see is, as a result of an increased level of production based on the increased quantity and quality of the factors of production, the state of technology, how well they are used, their efficiency, we can produce far more, and therefore you have children learning on iPads and stuff like that. Their countries in the developing world produce very little goods and services because they have so very, very few factors of production, and the quality of these factors of production are nowhere near as high as those in the wealthier countries. So the quality and quantity of land, labour, capital and enterprise, how efficiently they're used, the state of technology, all of these things affect our ability to produce. If the quantity and quality of factors of production increase, our ability, our wealth as a nation, our ability to consume also rises. Guys, thank you so much indeed. I really hope this helped, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.